Hello, we're back.
We are back.
How's everyone doing today?
Well, I'm nice and well rested. I couch toured and went to bed moderately early.
Solid.
I'm pretty tired. I'm not gonna lie.
No kidding.
It's been a wild 24 hours, but it was great. Really great. Amazing.
Yeah, you know what? We're very happy that you went and you made it possible for there to be a representative from this podcast recap at every single show of the tour. So that's
why I
pretty
did
exciting.
it. That's why I did it.
That's why.
I didn't want to let down this collaboration.
Yeah, didn't want to disappoint all the fans out there. So what's Moon Township like? Is it like in like it's near Pittsburgh, but how close is it
Yeah,
to Pittsburgh?
it's like 20 minutes from downtown. Probably. I stayed in this little town called Ambridge, which is on the other side of the river. But yeah, it was on a college campus. So it was a nice little area actually. And it was super easy to get in. The venue was awesome. Like the size was perfect. 4,000 people, like just
nice.
one level of a bowl in the floor, and it was great. Super easy.
I couldn't tell. Is it another minor league hockey arena?
No, it's there. It's where Robert Morris University, where they played basketball, I think.
Got it. The UPMC Event Center.
The event center. I guess it's for events generally, but I think they play basketball there.
It was funny. Last night we were talking about, we figured the slightly earlier start time meant that curfew was something like 11. And so we were getting a little bit worried when Trey, was doing like multiple acoustic tunes at like 10:57. But yeah, do you know anything about that, or was it just
no? I don't. I mean,
did Trey say fuck it and go over curfew, or
I mean, maybe. Although that was pretty far over. I don't know. I mean, they might just be building in more time because of the transitions and all that. I mean, the stage stuff is
there's a lot.
It's a lot. But yeah, I mean, I kind of thought it would be over like at 10:59, but it just kept going.
Yeah, you had a good night.
Yeah, it was great.
A couple of good songs. Well, let's dive into the Goose set to start, shall we? Rum opener. We were joking that this ended the bangers only streak of tours so far. But it was a really good rum. Great jam. Got into some nice tension building as it does.
Yeah, I thought it was like it seemed way more out there than most versions. But I don't know. Do they get out there often? I think they don't.
Yeah, I think on this tour they have. We talk about it a lot because I actually really enjoy the song and Goose sets. I think there's some people out there like Ryan who don't care to hear it in sets, but I think at least as of late, you get probably 12 to 14 minutes of like some pretty searing jam, and I think that's kind of what we got last night. So yeah, I'm a big fan of rum in a set. It injects quite a bit of energy. I love it as an opener. It's pretty great.
That's fair. It is a good opener. They were playing with a lot of purpose last night. It sounded, it seems like that the time spent with Trey is really rubbing off on them, especially Rick. But yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of drive in their jams and their playing last night.
Yeah, I mean, it felt to me like it was really, really great. I mean, and the Creatures, when that comes next, like that's just feel like you're in for it. Yeah, I mean, these jams are getting. I think we talked about this, Ryan, when during the winter tour, where it seemed like a lot of the jams were going in a similar direction. Mm-hmm. And this just seems like this tour is like hard for me to classify. It's definitely like the jams are much different, I think, out there.
Yeah, this Creatures jam was cool because they did the a bit more of the standard route for the first bunch. Hitting that that like theme that they hit on. Does it have a name? I always forget.
I don't know. Well, so it borders like on a klezmer thing, right?
Yeah,
like a little bit. Like, and I feel like they're just like one note away, and occasionally they will pick up that note, whatever it is, and it will sound very klezmery. But this is like right on the cusp of that. And it's a pretty typical Creatures jam, but it does show up in other jams as well.
Yeah.
We were talking about it last night. I think you see a little bit of it in the Chrysalis Echo of a Rose too.
Mm-hmm. And then in the last couple of minutes, as it sounds like, okay, they're going to segue into something. It's almost like they're like, but wait a minute, let's hang out in this space a little bit. And I swear to God, Rick was going into Auld Lang Syne. I was just waiting for the tease because it sounded like he was playing it. And it's at this time I would like to mention again the Vintage Vibe stereo console that Peter has for the first time on this tour, and how incredible it sounds. This is the first time that I'm webcasting. I've got a good setup in the basement. I've got 2 Sonos speakers on either side of me, so I get the stereo effect. And so just sitting in between the vibrato that was happening. If you have not heard the Creatures, the Moby, and then This Old Sea from last night in headphones, you must, because oh my God.
See, I don't have a quality setup here on these webcasts like early in the evening because I have kids. So I'm
Right.
usually like I'll have like one or maybe both AirPods in, but I'm still like actively listening for somebody to yelp out in pain or something like that. But because I have 2 boys. Yeah, I've been wondering if that was going to come through in stereo over the webcast. Sounds like it is.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go and kind of check that out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a good insight, Ryan.
Yeah, and it was cool also, this was my first show on Couch Tour of the run, and it was really, really, really weird to me, to see the level of video production. I said on Twitter last night, like, while, we're used to incredible video production from Goose, there's a very big difference between, stationary DSLRs set up around the stage plus Danny's moving camera and like, the like 5 or 6 person live fish webcast crew and like their huge cameras and whatever. And I also recognized a lot of the camera angles from fish shows because that's the kind of nerd I am, and I notice details like that. And it was like, oh, like I recognize that angle, and Goose is on stage for this, which is crazy. I know, Micah, I'm on Twitter. Hard to believe.
It's amazing. For those of you who don't know, you should follow Ryan. He tweets not that often, but when he does, it's good.
I don't really tweet about Goose either.
Yeah.
So the Moby, we got your Moby.
I don't want to talk about it.
There was extensive talk of this Moby last night, which is, Ryan goes and sees 5 shows. The day after, or the show after his birthday show, they play the one song he was chasing.
I'm chasing other songs, but the song I most wanted to hear. I'm just, you know what? I'm very happy for everybody that was in attendance, as I am every time they play this song. And, last night was no exception. Like, it's the best song ever, and it absolutely killed. But still chasing it someday.
The segue into that song is wonderful too. It sounds so good.
Yeah, they just
and like Peter's the one who brought him there by just kind of bringing up I believe it was the synth in it, and then kind of changed key, and then everybody kind of followed along, and oh man, it just sounded so good. Like everybody, sometimes when you have segues like that, it just sounds like a bunch of notes are happening, and then all of a sudden everybody snaps to and they're playing together. This one, it was just smooth, like the whole way through, and it was killer. And it like does a song like Moby justice when they do something like that. Yeah, it's such a vibe of a song,
Yeah, I mean, luckily it was only 4 minutes, Ryan. That's so you only missed 4 minutes.
Yeah. Thankfully, it was a short Moby.
Think about it that way. You only missed 4 minutes.
Yeah, I know. What was that? What was that like in the room? Like, I mean, that song just must hit so well live.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people were like confused about whether it was like a jam or what was going on.
Right.
Just because there were a lot of first-time Goose people there. I had a whole section next to me that were all like 30 people who took a party bus from Cleveland, and I think it was like the majority of them had never seen Goose before. They were like fish people.
Were they digging the Moby?
Yeah, they were digging everything. I mean, and I talked to, there was a couple of people next to me who were, it was their first show. Actually, probably like basically everyone around me, it was like their first Goose show.
Awesome.
Which is kind of awesome. But everyone had a blast. Yeah, that was a good little, kind of bridge between the Creatures and All I Need.
Yeah, and the All I Need, they packing a lot into relatively short span, as they've been doing with the song a lot recently. The Portland, I think, is the only 20+ minute All I Need that we've had since August, which is abnormal for a song that we are used to hitting 20 minutes relatively frequently. So this one also, I was talking about it last night. Neil and I were talking about this earlier as well. It felt almost fishy at times, the jam, in a way that, with Goose jams, we usually hear like, Peter will lead for a while and then Rick will lead for a while and Peter will step back and do some comping stuff, or, maybe Trevor will briefly step out and do something on bass. But it felt like for a couple of minutes in this All I Need, it was more of that democratic style of playing that, we're used to with Fish, which was absolutely incredible to hear from Goose. It really shows, the influence that they've had playing with Trey and them working on themselves as improvisers. There were also some very cool, like Trey-like moments, I think, from Rick in this jam, like some trilling. He hit the wah briefly towards the end of the jam in a way that felt very reminiscent of Trey to me, but it was just great jam and shows some real promise for the future in terms of their improv.
Yeah. I think one of the things I was noticing just watching it in person for the first time is this tour, not the band or the song. They're really like focused on playing a full set, so like whereas All I Need, like typically, like you said, it would go 20-30 minutes and kind of like leave more space to just experiment and figure things out. They're like he brought it back after whatever it was, 12 minutes, like they're kind of like, because they want to play songs, they don't want to like just do 2 30-minute jams and that's the set, although that would be awesome. But
I wouldn't complain.
But I think it's a different skill, like it's to rein it in and be on top of it, where you can like improvise but also be adherent to kind of like more of a structure. It seems like a hard transition to figure out, for a tour like this. It's sort of like a festival set, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting how every night is like a little bit like a festival set. I mean, they're not going deep into their catalog on this tour. They really haven't at all. I mean, aside from a couple of rarities being pulled out. But
no jives.
Yeah, like no jives. They haven't played Seekers.
Earthling.
No Turn Clouds.
Lead the Way.
Yeah, and so it does feel like a little bit like a festival set every night. And I think so far they're doing a pretty good job of this. I mean, it's not their first go at being an opening act long after they've been like pretty established, right? Like we haven't talked about this yet at all, but when they opened for Pigeons in, was it 2019?
Yeah.
The same kind of deal where they were going out there every night and just absolutely blowing up a set. And like, people are like leaving after their set, not having it on this tour. But, so they have the capability of absolutely crushing it out there just for a set as an opener.
Yeah. The first show that I saw, which was also the first time I interviewed them, was at the 930 Club in November of 2018, and they were opening for Sun Squabby.
Yeah.
Wow. And it was wild because they had like 15-minute Creatures, 15-minute Tumble, Arcadia, Inside Out. Like it was like
that was it.
It was awesome. And then it definitely thinned out a little bit after the opening set.
Yeah. But it's funny though, they can go out there and be really like economical with their jams. I mean, I still think one of my favorite tumbles of all time came in an opening set for Pigeons.
2:15:20.
2:15:20. It's absolutely spectacular.
Yeah, no,
interesting.
I agree. I think that's the consensus GOAT for a lot of people, maybe. But yeah, no, they can get a lot done, and we've seen some really strong improv on this tour so far, and last night they definitely had a bit more of the extended improv than they had in the previous few shows, which is awesome. Really hoping, we've got 3 shows left on this tour. Really hoping that there are more moments like that to come. That would be phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure. We got a question earlier. It's for you and it's for you two, not for me. So I'll read it to you guys. Sit-ins are great. hoping for other collaborations like the horns sitting in, Nat or Jen sharing vocals, Cyril, Jeff on percussion. What do you guys think?
Pancakes outro. Yes to all of those things.
Yes,
I
please.
definitely want to hear the horns on. I want to see, flippers versus gong, on the percussion. I really, 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 more than anything, want an animal encore with everybody.
Oh, that would be cool. One of the things that I was hoping for, and I was kind of disappointed about last night's show, is there's a really cool percussion break in Empress that I think sounds awesome. And if Zero was out for that one, that would have been pretty great. And that was the one sit in. I was like,
bring him out for like 7 seconds.
Just absolutely tear it up on the percussion. Like maybe just like parade out like with a kazoo. Who knows? But
I mean, Arrow with everyone would be sweet.
Yes.
Yeah. I wonder
any Goose song with everyone. There's like 3 shows left. I would really like. It would be really cool if they, if Trey did a Fish song with Goose, and Goose did or Tab did a Goose song, with Goose.
Like that could totally work. I know where you're going.
Yeah. It was hard verbalizing that. Anyway, we're still in the middle of the Goose set here. Yeti, get the funk out my face. I was surprised that they left Yeti unfinished. That's my only thing here. And we got some nice Peter rhythm guitar action.
Yeah.
Finally, missing that.
Yeah, I had a question for RJ on this one. So at home, the end, whatever Peter was making come out of that guitar, sounded incredible.
Yes.
And it was incredibly loud in the mix. What did it sound like there?
Yeah, it was wild. That's where I was surprised that it kind of ended after that, just because obviously like segued, but it was pretty cool, and the sound in there was really amazing. I talked to a few people there who said hi, and again, I love when people say hi at shows. I think people are like feel bad for saying, and I'm like, it's great. It's great to talk to fans who appreciate who appreciate what we do, what we all do. And a couple of people said they'd seen shows there, and it was by far like the best sound in that venue that they've seen. So, which is not surprising given the setup. But it was pretty crazy. There was some I couldn't really tell like what was going on with the guitar, but it was great. I mean, the segue into the cover was really surprising to me. That was not what I was expecting.
Yeah. I thought they were going into a jam out of that. It really sounded like it was going to go somewhere and jams out of Yeti aren't unheard of. They're somewhat rare, but I mean, you still get them. And it seemed like that's where that was going, but I loved the cover choice. I wonder if it had to do with any of the discourse that was going on Twitter that day, because there was like a lot of talk about like Goose haters, and then like people like actively hating Goose, and then Jeff's like responding to people's tweets.
That was great.
And then just the lyrics of that song are great. Like if you don't like my music, you don't have to choose it, which I think that the lyrics themselves are you don't have to use it, but I think the way Rick sings it, he says choose. But it just felt perfect for the day, and also the song just rips. So that was great.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a good cover. I hadn't seen them play that before, so that was cool. I mean, there's a lot. Like if Fish had been, if this was 1992, Fish was around. Like if social media was around then, it's sort of a similar thing. Like you have this band that's changing quickly and on this trajectory, and like
all the deadheads being like,
yeah, exactly. And Trey responding on Twitter, which he probably would have done back then.
Probably.
But anyway, I saw something today about the Capitol Theater shows, and someone said that like it was all Fish fans' fault for making Goose play in bigger venues or something like that. And I was like, first of all, I mean, it doesn't make sense on any level, but but it's hard to grapple with like your band becoming bigger than it was when you started seeing them, and I understand that.
You know what? My favorite internet rant I've seen the last couple of days is the one, I don't know if you guys have seen that like Facebook post where the person just absolutely like goes off about how how dare you compare your ticket wait time, like you trying to get tickets
Yeah.
for Fish to this Taylor Swift on sale, like Fish is playing, like, it's tough to get floors for MSG for New Year's, but like, people are paying $15,000 to sit in nosebleeds at a stadium, like.
Yeah, and like one person is going to have a life-changing experience at Taylor Swift, and it's like,
and
I mean,
how
good
dare
for
you?
them.
How dare
I'm
you?
I'm gonna go see Taylor Swift with my daughter, but that's a funny one.
Yeah, that was good. And RJ, let's talk about this next song here. You just
I mean, I put it out into the universe. I really wanted to hear that song. And Neil, do you have kids?
Yes, I do. I got two boys.
Okay, so I have 3 kids, and
you didn't ask me if I had kids.
Well, do you have kids, Ryan?
No.
Okay. Just this song, like the lyrics to this song, they completely encompass like my view as a parent, and I think I talked about this on HF Pod before, but my dad died like 8 years ago, pretty suddenly, and my dad took custody of me when I was like 2. And my parents got divorced, which was like a big deal in 1981 or whatever it was. And like every time I hear this song, I think about that and how that's all like my dad ever tried to do was like take everything he could, like basically shoulder the burden of children. And like you don't really understand that until you have kids, and then you realize like that's what you do. And first of all, for this song to come from like a young person with so much wisdom and so much perspective is just like, I mean, they have no business writing a song like this, in whatever it was, 2013 or something. I mean, it's crazy, but it's just such a powerful song to me. It brings together like my past and my present and thinking about the future in a way that like rare. It's rare, to have a song that does that. Not just, within like the jam bands we talk about, but even like, all the bands I love. There are very few songs that really like move me like this song does. So it was really, on the way home earlier, I just like listened to it again and was just like lost it. It's weird. I think maybe it's just being tired, but it just brings a lot of like things together for me in a way that is really powerful, and definitely was like pretty overwhelming the beginning. But then the jam was not serene and quiet.
No, it was not.
No, it wasn't.
It was not. I mean, like I'll agree with you on that. This song is a truly unique song insofar as I think most people who listen to it find a way to relate to it with their own life. I think I have like my own things that I think about, and I think a lot of it actually has to do with fatherhood, which is interesting. That's like similar to how you feel. And it's just every time I hear it, have heard it live, I've just been awestruck. I can't dance or anything like that. I'm just like mouth agape, kind of staring at the stage, because it's just, aside from being lyrically wonderful, it's just such a beautiful song. And it was killer last night. I think it was also the first time on this tour that they really showcased Rick's voice outside of maybe Silver Rising a little bit. But this one is the one you hear it and you're like, oh man, this guy really can sing. So far on this tour, we've done a lot of we've heard a lot of just Rick as the guitar player, but a whole aspect of this band that is truly wonderful is his singing and the lyrics that he writes. And this is the one. This is the great one. And I'm glad they chose to play it on this tour, because they go, 16, 20, 25 shows without playing it on a regular basis. So,
yeah, to me, this and Western Sun are the 2 songs that have that quality where like, not only are like you just said, not only are the lyrics amazing, but just the singing is great,
Yep.
It was great. And hearing Trey jump in on the singing was just,
I loved it.
Like, next level.
And his guitar on that, in the brief solo he took during the song, that was incredible. It's interesting, a song the caliber of this has only been played 6 times this year, which is, the same as, isn't Shama on 6 plays?
Yeah, well, we know Electric Avenue is, because we talked about
so
that.
Is Electric Avenue, yes. So interestingly, they've only played it 6 times, and they haven't played it multiple times on the tour since the winter. The last 4 plays were, Philly in March, and then Radio City and then St. Louis in October, and then last night. So it's interesting. They're taking much longer gaps on it, which is a shame. Eurocean,
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree.
Ryan Molnar, Eurocean is one of my favorite, ballad landing pads after a big jam. One of my favorite shows that I was at had that come after a big jam, but I don't want to go into that because Neil will make fun of me. This old C, last night Trey sounded amazing. You guys said a lot about that, and yeah, they got into a really awesome jam here. Obviously the soaring guitar is awesome, but I'm all about that last 2 minutes where Trey, goes all dial tone. Peter hits the vibraphone, like just crazy dark stuff, and it reminded me a lot of February, March jams like that. You have that Spuds is hitting the snare really forcefully, Rick's doing crazy high register noodles, and Peter's playing vibraphone and weird organ blasts, which sounded amazing. And then the addition obviously of Trey's dial tone effect on top of that was just so cool.
Yeah, I tweeted a video of it, and I think I labeled it "Love in Space." Just they were just felt like they were talking to each other in an alien language, but in an affectionate way.
In computer,
it was wild. It was wild.
I don't want to skip over the guitar playing in that one. The dueling guitar dogfight attack has been going on pretty much every show this tour, and I think you guys maybe touched on it a little bit in the last episode. Is this starting to get repetitive? And was starting to wonder that myself until last night, and then whatever they did last night was incredible. There was a good chunk of just good old-fashioned Machine Gun Trey there for a good minute or so. And that part was probably the most satisfying 2-guitar jam I think I've seen on this tour. Ryan and I were talking about it beforehand. I don't know if it's quite the improv that All I Need from the first night was, but in terms of just absolutely ripping it up, this was the best, I think.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, it went in a totally different direction. I think when we talked about this the other day about the possibility of them playing together, I was imagining the Fred Festival version, with Dawes, where it was just this is just a Grateful Dead jam, it gets very just chill, but this it was wild. And I didn't expect another long song after that. I thought it would be something shorter, but they had to reprise Empress with Trey. I think we talked about the Radio City show. From what I understand, Trey only learned Arcadia and Hunger Sight right, and so the rest of you can tell when you watch the video, he's just sort of doesn't really know what's happening and trying to keep up, and clearly spent some time with it this time. It was pretty great, really great. Such a fun song. I didn't used to like it that much for some reason. I think I just hadn't listened to it closely enough, but live it's so fun. It's such a good fun song.
It's a killer set closer.
Yeah,
it's a fun way to go out. Yeah, Ryan is the president of the Empress fan club. So what do you have to say about it, Ryan?
Well, as the president of the Empress fan club, who single-handedly got at least 2 versions onto last year's Jam of the Year bracket that otherwise would not have been there, I loved this last night. Obviously, Neil's arm is still damaged from how hard I yanked on it at Goose when they went into this. But one of my favorite Goose songs. Sounded amazing with Trey. You kind of covered it. Great way to close out the set. People for more Empress set openers.
Yeah,
I was calling it as a set opener. I think the other night, not tonight, but last night, but the other night.
There we go. And so now let's talk about Tab. What was interesting to me about last night's Tab set is that they played 90 minutes before bringing Goose on. So it felt a lot longer than normal, which was interesting to me.
Yeah.
Did it feel long in the room?
Yeah, it did. Well, also because what you said earlier, I was sort of just expecting it to end around 10:50, so like it was just, I mean, that's the whole thing about expecting things to happen or not happen, is you end up confused. So it was great. I mean, I like the set a lot. I haven't saw Tab last September, and I've seen them so many times since my first show, I don't know, 98 or something. So it's amazing what it's become. And with James being out, it didn't really like change anything. The horns were awesome, singing was great, and I really like the arrangements on like Ghost and Everything's Right and some of the Fish songs. I just think it's just really fun. It's really fun.
What's interesting is, again, I was saying this before we started. I'm glad that it came through well in the room. Shout out to Kenneth Whalem, who filled in for James on sax last night. We hope James is doing amazing. I know he said he'll be back tomorrow for the last 3 shows of the tour. What I felt on the webcast last night, it felt like the horns were mixed a little bit low, and so they sounded kind of thin. And so on more horn-centric songs like Mozambique or Olivia, stuff like that, it didn't come through as well as it has been in the past. And Kenneth was only playing tenor sax, where James also plays baritone on some songs. So like Money, Love, and Change, you don't have those low-end stabs from the Barry sax, which I felt, it felt like it was missing something a little bit. But it was still, a solid Tab set. Interesting to see the 3rd Mozambique and 3rd Hey Stranger in 5 shows.
Yeah. I was surprised to hear Hey Stranger for sure. But
I
it's
like
cool.
that song a lot.
It's really, I think that has I think that has a future in the Fish repertoire as well. And the Sand, like closer with the band, and I mean, it's just great. He was like, yeah, let's just, that's how Trey, he was like, change my mind. Let's just try this, see what happens.
Yeah.
I'm curious what he changed his mind from. That was the one thing that was running through my mind when they were, when he was saying that. It was like, what could it have been? Like, I really wish I knew.
Right. Tweezer.
One can hope.
But we don't need to play that.
One can hope.
But I thought it was great. I mean, there's just so much joy on the stage when everyone's out there. It's really fun to watch. I thought it was great.
Yeah. And then he did 1.5 songs acoustic for the encore. That was really funny when he forgot how to play Numberline.
Yeah. I think must have been some monitor in here. There's something going on that was like messing him up, I think. Two of my most vocally favorite songs, like songs that people like to hate on that I love more, and Numberline, back to back, is just like so
perfect,
wonderful. It was great. And then like Susie, I hadn't like thought about Susie as an encore or as a song with the band, but it's like, it's fun, it's easy, gives everyone a little bit of a chance to get out there, and it was really, that was great.
Yeah, I loved the bit of banter before from Jen when she was like, you're all like, someone from Goose can come stand over here with us, like, you're all on that side of the stage.
And I love that they got Trevor out of everybody. That actually made it. That was the best possible outcome, really.
And how Ciro has just started kind of leaving his percussion rig to Ben and Jeff, and he just kind of runs around the stage like, waving things around and making funny faces. Like as you mentioned, it's just all of them having a great time. The Susie was amazing. You can tell, like, I mean, I loved, Peter and Ray taking the solo together again, like they did during the Mr. Completely the other night. Just a ton of fun. And Trevor was just happy to be there, standing behind the horns with the shaker.
I think it's just like pure comedy.
I was laughing the entire song last night. It was so
I think
good.
People who don't know Goose think that he like looks angry. It's sort of like Mike Gordon, people like assume that he's not having fun because he's not like smiling the whole time. But I think he's having fun.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, did anybody on the planet have more fun last night than Peter Onspach when he did the Fishman part of Susie Greenberg?
Yeah, that was pretty great.
I mean, is no.
Yeah, like I had fun just watching him have fun. Like, I mean, it was just spectacular.
I think I was thinking back to the first night from Portland. And just like for the first time seeing Peter singing Wolfman's, and I was like,
And Rick doing the telephone lick.
yeah, like that kind of, and now it's just like getting to the point where they're clearly just like having a blast playing these songs that they've grown up with, in some way or another. Yeah, that was great. That was fun, super fun. Yeah, it was a great night. The venue was awesome. And I told her that you might have seen a picture on Twitter, but I was texting with Jeff, and he came over. Like I told him where my section was, and during the tab set, he came over and said hi. And afterwards, I texted him and was like, "Hey, I'm see you in Fairfax. Like, thanks." And I walked to this bar called the Stardust Lounge, which was all the drinks were served in plastic cups, cash only, pool tables, and you can still smoke in there, which is just incredible. So I had to go. I went in there. There were probably like 10 other fans from the show in there, and had a beer in a plastic cup, and then I called an Uber to leave, and I walked out, and there was a car like right in front of the bar, and I started to walk up to it, and the guy who was driving was like, "I'm not an Uber," and I was like, "Oh yeah, I know, I'll just like walk in the opposite direction." And then I heard a voice from the back seat say, "Is that RJ?" And I was like, "Who the hell would that be?" And then Jeff got out of the car, and he didn't know I was there, and I didn't know he was coming, but he was just going to like have a drink. So I went back in with him, and we hung out for a couple hours, and it was just like a nice cap to the night. Very serendipitous, and a bunch of fans were in there and were thanking Jeff, and everyone was super nice and had a good time, played pool, and it was a good night. Jeff won, but barely. I mean, I came back at the end.
You came back after the photo?
No, yeah, exactly. No, he won. I think I left 2 or 3 on the table. But yeah, it was great, and they're having so much fun. And so are we. So, I got no complaints. I have to say that just because I put out the Sold Sea into the world, I'm going to repeat the way it is Fairfax. I'm just putting that out there, guys.
Is that for Jonathan? Is that to impress Jonathan?
I just think yes. And I mean, the piano, it's just a perfect song.
Yeah. So Jonathan's going to be joining us on Friday, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think I'm trying to force him to as much as I can. But I also think we should know the Reading Rockdale, like we'll be talking about it years from now.
All right.
Don't you guys think?
That's a prediction.
I think it's going to be just nothing but bangers and Reading. And I had tried to make plans to make my way down to Reading, but I don't think it's going to be possible. But I think something spectacular is going to happen there.
Mm-hmm.
Rockdale is coming. We're getting another one.
Maybe it's coming in Syracuse.
Yeah.
I would not complain to see it in Syracuse. I am
great song.
I am very much looking forward to braving the blizzard that is hitting Buffalo Thursday night into Friday. It looks like it should only be a small part of my drive on Friday morning, but I'm taking it into account, and I'm probably going to leave before 8 a.m. To make it there. But I will brave the weather for Caboose.
I did drive through a snowstorm on the Pennsylvania Turnpike for about 2 hours yesterday. So, it's no risk, no reward, I think is what they say. Right. But drive safely.
Thank you. I will. That's a good a driptych in Reading. That would be. Wow. We're still waiting.
We're still waiting for Hunger Site. That's something we should have talked about today. Which is like, how outrageous is that?
They still haven't played it.
The song that you would expect them to play like 3 times on this tour. I would have said they would have played it the first night just so they could get it in a couple more times before the tour was over. And looks like we're on
the longest gap since March. 6 shows.
Wow, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. Maybe there's something being cooked up. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm and see, people are speculating about this Billy Strings sit-in. As much as I love Billy's guitar playing and would love to see it, I hope it doesn't happen.
It would be one guitar too many, I think, at this point. But
yeah,
I know that's a lot of big personalities on the stage at once. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that I don't, if it happens, it'd be great, but I don't think it's necessary.
Yes, right.
I think Taboose is more than enough.
It's
And,
great.
Yeah.
very excited.
We only have a couple
three nights
left.
left.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like really actually sad when we're talking about this, that like this could, be the end. And Ryan, when we were talking to Marta Getty the other day at Mohegan, she was basically saying like everyone on this thing just wants this to go on forever because everyone's just so happy.
Yeah.
And then she was talking about the crew, and and then we were like kind of talking about being a fan, like just like this is the moment I've been waiting for my whole life, but I didn't know I was waiting for it because it's just so much fun. So yeah, it does make me sad. I can't imagine what it's going to be like when we don't have this anymore. But
yeah,
I mean, it's really sad. In a month we get to see Goosemas, and that's going to really suck without Trey.
Yeah, well, I think I'll be also grateful. We talked about this before too. I will be grateful when Goose is playing 2-set shows again.
Yeah,
and Peter is out there doing jams with the guitar.
Yes,
it's the one thing I've been missing a lot since this Taboose thing started. Is just Peter going out there and just doing what he does with a rhythm guitar. He's really a spectacular rhythm guitar player, and it's just a whole element of Goose that you just don't even get a sample of on this tour.
Yeah, we've had two pieces of improvisation with Peter on guitar so far this tour: the Dripfield from Mohegan and the Tumble from Portland. Otherwise, every single jam on a guitar-led song, he's switched to keys almost immediately after the jam starts, which is really interesting. I understand, like, obviously he wants to explore the new, beefed up vintage vibe sound. And obviously, when they're playing something like Wisteria with Trey, he doesn't want to step on Trey or Rick's toes by being the third guitar in there, which makes sense. But, something like Creatures, something like Madhavan, where, he's switching to keys on those, it feels a lot like summer 2021 again, where he was really pushing, the keys in a lot of jams. So I'm interested why there's been a lot less guitar. But yes, I'm very much looking forward to the return of it when Goose plays on their own again.
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this for a long time now, and friends who I introduced to the band, when I bring them to their first shows, that's always what I point out, which is like, listen real close to what Peter's doing when he's playing the guitar. Your ears naturally drift to Rick, but if you really focus in on what Peter's doing, there's so much depth there. And yeah, you know me. I mean, we've talked about this a ton. I'm just a huge fan of Peter's guitar playing.
Yeah, and we got a bit of it last night. We mentioned like that end of the Yeti thing where Peter was making crazy sounds, and like it's there. He's still doing it, but on a much smaller scale. While we're here, before we go, as much as I hate to admit it, you did get the Golden Goose last night. I will begrudgingly congratulate you.
Well, I wasn't going to bring it up, but I'm glad that you did. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I wish Brian was here. It would make this moment just a little bit better.
For those of you who maybe don't know what Golden Goose means, go to fantasygoose.com. We try to predict what the band is going to play before every show. You put in 8 picks, and you get points based on which ones you hit. And Golden Goose happens when you get the most points for that night. And Neil got that last night.
Yeah, I feel good about it. I'll do more gloating outside of this.
Follow Neil on Twitter.
I feel happy about it. Yeah.
Follow Neil on Twitter if you would like to see more Golden Goose gloating.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, RJ, only one more day until you get to see them again. You're home for a night and back in the car.
Yeah, back. I guess that's tomorrow, huh?
Yeah.
Better sleep.
Yeah, we're going. We're actually going. Yeah, my in-laws live in Alexandria, as does Matt Dwyer, who you guys know.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to go there with our whole family and my wife and. And then I'm going. Sorry, I don't know what happened. It's gonna be awesome. And
awesome.
Then,
well, we're excited for you. We're very excited for Jonathan to see his first show and then come tell us all about how he's 100% sold on Goose on Friday.
I have 2 friends I'm bringing tomorrow who are not sold on Goose, and we'll see if that changes.
Fingers crossed.
It's gonna be awesome.
Get that way it is for you.
we'll do our best. Neil, you gotta, just make sure you put in the effort to try and make Reading happen.
I mean, it's a 5.5 hour drive.
Okay.
So I think I could get there and back. Although I did do, 3 nights on already. And like, that's pushing my luck. I do have to fly out to Colorado in a month. And then I have a 5-night run at the Cap that I have to do now. Which one of my childhood best. I grew up not too far from where the Cap is. I grew up in Connecticut. But a friend of mine lives about 20 minutes away in New York. And I have to figure out a way to go, but my wife's birthday is also that weekend. So there's a lot of like capital management here to figure out how to do these things, which like Ryan has no idea what I'm talking about, but RJ, I'm sure you understand. So if I didn't have all that going on, I would just get in the car first thing in the morning. So
it's all strategy. It's gonna be great. We're taking a party bus with like 25 or 27 people from my neighborhood to the show on Saturday, which is just gonna be.
That's gonna be great.
It's gonna be wild. It's gonna be a wild day. It's gonna be an awesome show.
Tour closer. Maybe we get that fabled third set on Saturday.
That is a good point.
Or just one giant set. Just rotate people up.
Just have it like
rotate people,
like a jam session. Have people just come and go. They got to get They do have to get the horns up there for a Goose song. Like that has to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Soon.
Animal with everybody. I'm
like if this tour ends in the only song we get with horns is Fish in the Sea, like I'm gonna be really disappointed, especially since Rick has already played with the horns some. He's going to play with them more because that was recently announced. They're doing the Warfield.
Busy December for Rick.
So I sure hope so.
Well, I think this is a good spot to wrap up for today. Thank you all very, very much. RJ had to go. But we will be back here on Friday with newly 100% sold Jonathan, hopefully. But thank you all very, very much for tuning in to these recaps. It's been an incredible tour so far. Listen to any of the previous ones that you may have missed. Check out HF Pod, always almost there, and our friends at the Great Beyond who could not, unfortunately, be here today. That was not coherently said. They unfortunately could not be here today. Fish in the Sea with Graham and Horns. That's a good way to end. Everybody have a fantastic rest of your day.